Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Bizzy. It is episode 564 with Dave Aronberg. And before I tell you about Dave Aronberg, I've got to tell you the story of why I actually reached out to him. I have this woman, so everybody knows I'm in long term recovery, and I met somebody in a 12-step meeting. And of course, I lended her a hand and I've been talking to her. And she comes over to my house and I said, "Tell me your story." She goes, "Bizzy, I'm part of the Florida Shuffle." Now, I had never heard of the Florida Shuffle. So I turned on Megyn Kelly and you were her guest.
Wow.
This is last week. And you were talking about your book, The Florida Shuffle. And I reached out to you right away and I am so grateful you said yes.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Or can I call you Bizzy?
You can call me Bizzy.
I'd love to know the derivation of that.
Okay, my brother could never pronounce the name Elizabeth. So he called me Bizzy. And then when I was 16, my dad got me license plates on my car that said Bizzy, and it's stuck ever since.
It's very sweet. I love how nicknames can stick with you from the point of birth. I mean, that's really cool.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you guys a little brief thing about Dave. Dave Aronberg is a Harvard educated attorney, former state senator, and 3-term state attorney for Palm Beach County. He co-authored Fighting the Florida Shuffle, an explosive expose on corruption within the addiction treatment industry. Now a contributor to Megyn Kelly's True Crime that came out yesterday. And Dave offers compelling legal insight into the dark side of rehab fraud and the fight for ethical freedom. So, Dave, it's so crazy. So I'm living in Palm Beach County in Delray Beach. And I had no idea, call me totally naive. And as this young woman likes to call me, green, I had no idea how people were being used to make money over their illnesses, their illness of addiction. This woman was brought here to Florida from outside of Clemson, South Carolina, the middle of nowhere. This woman shows up at her house. She had never met her before. Her and her daughter were addicted to benzos and methamphetamines. This woman said, "I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you a plane ticket to Florida." This was 80 days ago. She's been shuffled around to different treatment centers. When she arrived, they said, "Apply for health insurance." The first rehab or detox center she went to, they charged $70,000 to the insurance company. Then she goes to IOP. At I think 40 days, the IOP had charged the insurance company $48,000. So what are we at, like $112,000 at this point? And asked her to apply for food stamps in the state of Florida. She's not even a Florida resident. She's a resident of South Carolina.
Bizzy, this is the Florida Shuffle. It commoditizes people. It dehumanizes them. People are nothing more than a cash cow for the unscrupulous actors in the industry. And the tip of the spear is the deceptive marketing. That's where you will Google rehab near me and up will come a rehab nowhere near you, but they'll pretend that it is until you find out on the phone with them that they're actually not near you, but they're in Delray Beach, Florida. It's like Heavenly Valley recovery, but there are no valleys in Delray Beach, and where you're going ain't heavenly. And then they send you a free one-way plane ticket to come down to beautiful South Florida. You get off the plane, and we've seen this. We've actually seen this with golf clubs or a polo saddle, thinking you're going to go ride horses out west in Wellington, or you're going to play golf, play a quick 18 every day before you go to recovery and rehab. No, it's a fraud. You're going into the Florida Shuffle where you're going to be cycled through endless rehabs and testing until your insurance runs out. Then you'll you'll be given money to go on a bender for the weekend, and then you'll get right back into it until you leave in an ambulance or a body bag.
It's so true. I mean, this woman's daughter is at a different facility in Broward County in Fort Lauderdale. She can't afford to pay for it anymore. And the treatment center told her to go out and have a drink so that when she came back and was tested, she was tested positive for having alcohol or drugs in her system, and then they could recharge.
Well, the reason for this is that well intended federal laws like the Affordable Care Act, which has opened the doors of recovery to millions of Americans who couldn't get insurance, but at the same time, the Affordable Care Act does not allow any limits on how many times you can go through recovery, yearly or lifetime. And when you combine that with an old school fee for service reimbursement model, the more services you provide, the more money a provider makes. You can see the incentive for corruption. For a good provider who wants to pay it forward, it's not a problem. But for someone who's looking to make a quick buck, yeah, there's gold in that urine. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow as long as a person doesn't get sober. So the money is in relapse, it's in failure, not sobriety.
It's so scary. I can't, it's dark. It's truly dark. I mean, these people are here. They want to get better. This young woman and her daughter are dying to get better. There were no resources where she's from in the middle of South Carolina. They called the hope dealer, this woman, and she told her what to say, what her name was, what her address was going to be. I mean, I was in utter shock.
That is where the marketers come into play. See, the marketer is directing all this. The marketer is the one that sends you the free plane ticket. The marketer is the one that tells you to go to this certain inpatient care, this certain outpatient care, and everyone is exchanging money. It's part of their patient brokering, which is illegal. It's insurance fraud, which of course is illegal. And everyone makes money off it. Sometimes it's at taxpayer expense. And you have willing victims. So you have an individual who is in the throes of addiction. And so they are often willing victims because, Bizzy, if you went to the doctor because you had a broken arm, and if the doctor said to you, keep coming back every month, I'll keep breaking your arm and I'll give you $1,000 from insurance every time, you would say, get lost, I'm calling the cops.
Yeah.
But when it's mental health, when it's behavioral health, when it's the brain disease of substance use disorder, you're going to accept the free money, free drugs, free rent to keep yourself in this. Your brain is craving these drugs. So hold on, you can get the drugs your brain craves. You don't have to work. You can get free money. It's a win-win until you die. And this is the exploitation of people at the lowest stages of their lives, taking advantage of people in recovery when they need help the most.
So what can we do?
You have to change federal law, and I describe what needs to be done at the federal level in the book. This book is a call to arms. It's a call to action to get our federal government to actually do something about this, because I testified twice before Congress. I said, here are the fixes. And Congress listened and they were polite. And of course, Congress did what they normally do, which is nothing. And here we are. So instead, local governments like ours here in Palm Beach County have to fight this fight on their own. And they do so with one hand tied behind their backs because the federal government won't stop the spigot. They won't turn off the spigot that keeps this fraud flowing. And so in the meantime, this book is a prescription of what local governments can do to follow our lead in Palm Beach County. We're able to clean up the drug treatment industry, at least mostly, and also tells the federal government they need to do a couple things. I can give you one fix that I discuss in the book, and that is the federal government can tweak the Affordable Care Act to make it an outcome-based reimbursement model instead of a fee-for-service-based reimbursement model. So instead of the bad providers getting paid more because they keep people in a perpetual state of recovery, let's reward the good providers that actually succeed. We do that when it comes to hospitals under the Affordable Care Act, but not when it comes to behavioral health. And Bizzy, you can sort of understand why the Affordable Care Act is scared of doing it that way, because it's different. When you have behavioral health issues, drug addiction, failure is part of recovery. And it's just not like, a broken arm. You just set the broken arm. But at the same time, we know who the good players are. I can sit in a room with you and we can go over the list and we can say these people need to be rewarded. They're the good guys in the industry. Here are the bad guys. You can do it through admission rates, readmission rates. You could do it through negative outcomes through reputation, through surveys. You can come up with a formula that reverses the system we have now, where if you are fraudulent, you are rewarded, and if you are clean, you are penalized.
Right. It's so frustrating. It's such a level for me because I see these people and they're really trying. I mean, they have this girl with 80 days teaching everybody at the treatment center. She has 80 days. She's the one that's telling them, take us to 12-step meetings. They don't want to take them anywhere. They just want them to sit in a room and they're going to teach them how to, bang on a drum and make sure you sign the sheet that you were here. Because if you don't sign the sheet, we're not going to get paid.
Right. That's what it's about. It's not about getting well, it's about getting paid.
How can we close them down?
Well, I closed all, or at least nearly all of them, down when I was state attorney because we started a Sober Homes Task Force. That's in the book. We discuss a lot in the book about how we started this task force. Other local governments can follow our lead. We brought together law enforcement. We had a civilian side of the task force that helped us change the laws because although we were going out there arresting people, we needed the laws to get tougher. So we went to the state legislature, we got laws changed. This is a roadmap in the book of how local governments can fight and win against the Florida Shuffle, even as Washington sleeps.
I mean, is anything with Trump's new law that he signed into office this past on July 24th, the executive order he did with public safety, restoring order and pushing for real treatment for people, would that do anything?
No, it's going to take a congressional fix.
Okay.
And Congress needs to tweak the Affordable Care Act. Executive orders are not going to get it done. So it needs a legislative fix, but the legislature doesn't seem to make this a priority. They've got all these other things and all these trying to get reelected at home. And this is a nuanced discussion because if you ask many politicians what to do about the opioid epidemic, they will say more money for rehab. But what if the money is the problem?
It totally
What
is
if
a problem.
the rehabs are the problem? And there are a lot of good rehabs out there. We worked with the good guys in the drug treatment industry. God bless them. They were so instrumental in our efforts. But they're getting hurt too by the bad ones. They're getting their patients stolen away. We've seen stories where they'll have group meetings at their facility, the good guys, and someone in the class will be there to recruit the participants to go somewhere else where they can get money and drugs. It was like a scene from Breaking Bad. I remember watching that scene in Breaking Bad. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the Florida Shuffle.
Oh my gosh. It's like, again, frustrating. So I want to ask you, tell my listeners, why did you decide to write this book?
Well, I had been working in this area for years and I was frustrated with the lack of responsiveness from the federal government. So I wrote this book as a call to action because my efforts to lobby the federal government by going before congressional committees, by speaking out, wasn't working. So I thought this would be a way to get on podcasts like yours and to get the message out. Plus, I do think that Palm Beach County's success in fighting the Florida Shuffle is a story that needs to be told. And I did.
And it's still being fought.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
It's not over. I mean, part of the problem is that as we cleaned up the industry in Palm Beach County, the unscrupulous providers who we were unable to arrest. I mean, we made 121 arrests in like 5 years. So we cleaned up really the worst in the industry, but others just left. They didn't want any part of us. And they moved to other parts of the country because the gravy train is still flowing. So you want to do something about it. You got to fight back and you got to hold accountable your politicians who refuse to deal with this problem. We're the only county in the country that has a sober homes task force. Doesn't mean that other communities aren't fighting this problem, but it's better if you have a concerted effort with law enforcement and other parts of the community to fight this. And you have to identify, you have to know it exists. There are a lot of places that don't even know this problem exists. I tell you what, in Orange County, California, they know this problem exists. Malibu, they know this problem exists, but they're unable to do much about it because of the paralysis of mistrust, where you have the League of Cities and you have politicians and you have the local advocates for the disabled all distrusting each other. And so no one wants to do anything about because if you do something about it, the advocates for the disabled say you're discriminating. But we had that level of trust. We met with representatives of the industry, who worked with the industry, people who stand up for those with substance use disorder, and they understood we were not doing this to discriminate against them. We were doing this because we want to save lives, and together we did.
I love that. I feel like I never realized until just recently. Again, call me naive. I got sober in outside of Philadelphia. This doesn't really occur there. And so when I heard this for the first time after living here for 2 years, I was just again dumbfounded. And I've watched this woman struggle. I mean, now everybody in her facility has COVID and they're not doing anything about it. They're not giving him medication. They're not giving him masks. They're not giving him anything. They're like, here, do you want to? Oh, she told me about somebody who came in with an alcohol problem. He had a water on the back of his knee, so he was in a lot of pain. They gave him Suboxone.
Well, Suboxone is important. It can do a lot of good. Um, I believe in medication assisted treatment, but it needs to be assisted treatment. It needs to be with counseling and not just, here's some pills and go away. Plus, um, if that person has substance use disorder, if they have an opioid problem,
No, an alcohol problem, not
well,
even
then I don't know what Suboxone's going to do. I don't know. Buprenorphine isn't really meant for alcohol problems. I mean, if they have also dual diagnosis, if they have opioid issues, then yeah. But alcohol, no. That's where 12 steps can work. That's where prayer and group counseling can work. But you're not going to solve an opioid addiction without medication assisted treatment, in my view.
I agree with you on that one because it's a totally different thing. It's a different animal. Even though that they want to treat that with 12 steps lots of times, the pills affect a different part of the brain and have a whole different ramifications than alcohol does. Why did this first happen in Florida in the beginning, do you think?
Why did the Florida Shuffle happen?
Yeah.
Well, when the federal laws changed to make it a generous insurance benefits for people under the Affordable Care Act, then you had the predators come down to exploit that and to see that pot of gold. Why do you come to South Florida? Well, it's that old adage, why do you rob banks? It's because that's where the money is. Why do you come to South Florida? That's where the patients are. South Florida has always had a vibrant drug treatment industry. It just got corrupted by well-intended federal laws and incentivized corruption. But that's why people came down here. Why do you go to Vegas to gamble?
Yeah.
It's Vegas. Why do you come down to South Florida to take advantage of people in recovery? Because it's South Florida. That's the tourist mecca for people who want to get well. They come down here, and the industry was doing very well for a time, and then the new laws unwittingly corrupted it. And now we've cleaned it up again. I would say that Palm Beach County now has the most ethical drug treatment community of any community in the country.
Broward?
Broward, not as much. Some of the problem has flowed south to Broward, and they don't have a drug treatment, a sober homes task force down there. But I know the state attorney there, and he's really good, and he's very aware of the problem. It's just, you need to get buy-in from all stakeholders, and some of the problem has flowed to Broward. Yeah.
So for me, as an average American and a podcaster, what can I do to change this myself? What can I do? Go out. I mean, I've been looking like, who can I call and say this is going on at this treatment center? And they're opening more and more sober homes now in Palm Beach County. Somebody just told me that their realtor told them that all these houses are being sold here in Delray to actually people that are going to open more sober homes.
Well, the existence of sober homes themselves is not a crime, and it's not necessarily a problem. You need to have good, high quality, ethical treatment and living space for people who want to get healthy, want to get well, because we're dealing with an opioid epidemic that was man-made. It was
Yeah.
created by corporate malfeasance and professional greed and political apathy and regulatory failure. And now you have millions of Americans dependent on opioids. And so what do you do about it? You need to have high quality ethical treatment and good quality sober homes. So the existence of new sober homes isn't necessarily a problem. It's whether they are the unscrupulous ones. And I would submit, at least because of the Sober Homes Task Force, that There are fewer of those, the unscrupulous ones, the rogue ones that have opened up here. And what to do about it? You're doing it. You're doing it. You're talking about this issue. You are spreading the word, Bizzy, and that is important. As GI Joe said, knowing is half the battle, because many people don't even know that this is a problem. And families will spend more time and energy researching a television they're going to buy than a drug treatment center for their child. Don't rely just on a Google ad. Do the research, especially now with AI. Do the research. And don't accept free one-way plane tickets. Don't accept any free plane tickets from a rehab. That's a red flag. That's a crime. You don't want to be suckered into the Florida shuffle by accepting a free gift. If it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Right? Nothing's free in life.
Well,
and the
mostly
crazy
yes.
thing
I'm
is,
thinking of all these free things like some swag, but yes. Oh,
yeah,
yes, my book
your
is
book.
available. That's not free, but it's worth it. So
Yes,
yes,
this
please
book.
order it.
Okay, but the example of the woman in here that was living in the sober home, and the man chained her to the bed, and she was raped numerous, I mean, like hundreds of times.
Chapter 1 started
Yeah,
with that. That was
yeah.
so shocking to me that I wanted to start my book with it. In fact, I didn't use the woman's real name. I actually called her Sasha, and I did that for a reason, because my wife's name is Sasha. I wanted people to know, and it's a reminder to myself too, that these aren't just anonymous individuals. These aren't statistics. These are real people with families who love them, and because they're in the throes of addiction doesn't make them less human. It doesn't mean they suffer from a moral failure. This is a brain disease of addiction. It was pushed by the pharmaceutical companies, the Purdue Pharmas of the world. That's why people are addicted in many cases. And here they are trying to find a way out, and they're exploited by bad actors who are using them for their insurance.
And I never knew that it was illegal to buy somebody else a plane ticket till I read your book.
Yeah, the industry didn't realize it either. It was so common, but that's patient brokering. See, patient brokering is when you pay to play, is when you pay to put a head in a bed. And that's illegal because it distorts the healthcare system. See, the healthcare system is supposed to be you go get well. It's not because someone's giving you something for it, right? You go to a doctor to get well. That's what we want. It's not because, hold on, if I go here instead of there, I'll get free stuff. That's patient brokering. That's a crime.
So the plane tickets are a crime.
Absolutely.
And nobody tells you that, especially this person that's sent to the middle of nowhere and shows up on your doorstep like you think she's a guardian angel that God has sent, because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And here's this woman with all the answers. She's going to send me to Florida. I'm going to get better. And now I just said to this young woman, I said, well, how do you get home? Who's going to pay for you to get back to South Carolina?
They don't care. The people who are giving those free plane tickets, they're not going to let go of you so easily. Once they get you in their clutches, then they're going to keep you in rehab as long as possible. Why are they giving you a free plane ticket? They're doing it just like a drug dealer gives you free drugs. The first one's free because they know you'll be back.
It's sick. It's so sick. And I ended up getting sober in a 12-step room. I mean, I didn't go to rehab. I didn't have that. I just went and sat in a room and paid $1 a day. And, I'm going to be celebrating 19 years in a couple days. And
Bizzy, that is wonderful. Can I ask was it alcohol addiction?
Alcohol.
Yeah. See, that's why I said when you 12-step, that works for alcohol. That people have had a lot of success there. It's different from an opioid addiction. But God bless you for paying it forward.
Oh, that's all I want to do. It's just, I want more people to see the light and realize I thought the shame was so overwhelming that I couldn't do this. And I did it, and I keep doing it. And my biggest thing is helping others. And the families are so uneducated to this. And as you mentioned, breaking your leg or breaking your arm, going to get treatment is not like that.
Right. Right. No, it's not. Going to get treatment is not just an easy fix. Part of the reason why you have all these predators in the industry is because there's not one standard of treatment. You have different modules, different ways people will try to get you well. And a lot of them are well-meaning, but there's others that just do what the insurance will pay for. Like they'll find a way. If the drug testing doesn't get reimbursed every day, they'll do confirmatory drug testing, or they'll do genetic testing. Like you're going to get cured from your opioid addiction through 23andMe. It's like, come on.
It is, I truly believe that you need to have a spiritual change. And I don't know if that affects the opioid addict as much as it does the alcoholic.
I alone it won't fix you. If you have a spiritual change when you are in the throes of addiction of alcohol, it can really help you. That's the base of 12 steps. It can really
Right,
help. And I believe in both for opioids. For opioids, 12 steps are great as long as it's combined with medication assisted treatment. The opioids are such powerful drugs, they will change your brain chemistry. And you need to fight fire with fire. In my view, you need a drug like Suboxone or naltrexone, which is Vivitrol, to really combat it. Even if you do the old school way, those methadone clinics.
right.
Remember in New York and people, those little cups, they'd stand in line and it was like looked down upon. Tell you what, I'd rather have people on that than nothing if they have an opioid addiction because it does have success. Now I know there's critics who say, well, you're swapping one addiction for another. Well, you shouldn't have to be on those drugs forever, and that's why it needs to be assisted. You need to be under the watchful eye of a doctor, and they can help you through it. And you do counseling, and it'll get you hopefully to good health. But if you do swap one addiction for the other, I tell you this: a lot fewer people have died from Suboxone, naltrexone than from heroin and oxycodone. I don't know, in fact, anyone who's died from an overdose of Suboxone or naltrexone, although it may happen. And if I say that, someone's going to write to me and say it happened. It could happen, I guess, but it's not even close when you compare it to the people who have died from heroin and oxycodone and other addictive opioids. So yeah, I'd rather not trade one addiction for the other. But if the worst thing that happens is that you do and you're now addicted to something that will not kill you, it is better than being addicted to something that will kill you.
And I love Vivitrol because that's a shot rather than a pill you have to take every day and it lasts for 30 days.
Yeah, it's
It's
long
expensive.
lasting. That's the thing, it's expensive.
Yeah.
But it's long lasting and it helps so you don't have to, just keep taking the pills every day and the compliance is automatic.
Yeah. I mean, I am so grateful to have met you because I literally have been thinking and thinking and thinking, what can I do? How can I change this? Don't you think we should have? What do you think about state run institutions for people or rehabs that were run by the state and there were tiers? Like the first time you come, it can be kind of okay, nice. By the time you go to the third one, you're pretty much sleeping on Skid Row, and we're going to help you get sober. Like the person that you mentioned in the book, the gentleman that ended up finally getting sober by going to a really tough recovery center.
You, it makes me feel so good that you clearly have read the book so closely. Bizzy. Thank you. I love it when people recite the book back to me. Yes, instead of going to a private rehab, which is what most people do, because government got out of the rehab business a while ago. I mean, there's still some, but the beds are very limited. But we found that on the government rehabs, the few beds that exist, there's very little fraud. Now, could you have fraud in the Medicaid program? Sure, but we're talking about government run. It's just less of an incentive. People aren't getting rich there. It's government,
Yeah.
not some owners who are getting kickbacks. So you do have, I think, a better chance of success if you're worried about fraud in going to a government run rehab. It's just that there are very few beds available.
I know, but we need to change that because all this money that we're spending for where is this insurance coming from, by the way? Is this state run insurance that this young lady got? Where'd she get that insurance? It's
Well,
not Florida Blue.
most people get insurance from private insurance companies, and under the Affordable Care Act and Mental Health Parity Act, they're required to offer the behavioral health component. And they've got to have generous benefits. We want people to get well. In the past, you'd be on your own. So the Affordable Care Act has done a lot of good in opening the doors of recovery to millions of Americans who couldn't get it. The problem is there are still excesses in the law that incentivize fraud, corruption, and premature death.
And do you know that most of the people like at this treatment center where this young girl is right now, most of the people there are mentally ill. They're not really drug addicts or alcohol. They had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, well, that, that's it. It's a relatively decentralized, deregulated area. I mean, they have to get licenses to run a rehab, but sober homes don't. Sober homes are protected under the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, another well-intended federal law that I talk about in the book that needs to be tweaked. So you don't have the strict regulation in this area compared to other types of healthcare, and you have different types of treatment. And so, since there's not one standard of treatment, you have all these people say, "All right, we're going to have you do this equine therapy, and we're going to submit it for insurance reimbursement," and where someone else is saying, "No, we're going to give you Suboxone." So you have to really shop around and find a place that's good for you. Like I said, I think if you want to do things like equine therapy and 12 steps in conjunction with medication assisted treatment, yeah, go do it. I think it could work. But doing the former without the latter, I think, is a recipe for disaster.
I think that's what we're living in right now. So my proponent, I think that we should have state-run facilities because I've had rehabs reach out to me and I say, "What are you doing differently than other rehabs?" And they're like, "Well, we have, 1,500 thread count sheets." I'm like, "That's not going to get anybody sober."
No. Although that does sound comfortable. Yeah. That's better than I have.
Oh my gosh. Well, it has been a pleasure. I'm going to keep on you. I want to meet you. I'm going to come over and meet you in Palm Beach because I really want to do something about this. I want to do more because I feel like what is going on is so wrong and so dark. And using people, sick people to make money is like probably the scummiest thing you could ever do.
Yeah. Terrible. I mean, really. I mean, think about that. Exploiting people at the lowest stages of their life. I mean, it doesn't get much lower than that. People who are willing victims because their brain chemistry has changes, and you are going to exploit it. And at the same time, these are people who want to get well, who decided that I'm going to make a change. I'm
Yeah.
going to rehab because you don't really force someone to go to rehab. They have to want to, and they do. And here they find the person who's supposed to help them, to give them a lifeline, is one who's taking that lifeline and wrapping it around their neck. So, Bizzy, thank you for having me. Where are you located?
I'm in Delray.
So, okay, so you're close. You're part of the 561.
Yes, I am. And I'm right around, I mean, I swear all these rehab facilities are all near me. And I'm seeing all these people being shuffled all over the place and kids living on the street. I mean, they kind of clean them up here in Delray, but there's been a lot of kids that have died on the beach because they have nowhere to go. And they get high again. They walk into the ocean and, it's terrible.
Delray Beach was ground zero for the Florida Shuffle. Delray Beach Police Department had an innovative program. They have a woman named Ariana Ciancio. She's within the police department. I don't think any other police department anywhere in the country has something like this, where she goes around to help people. She sees people in need and high risk, and when it comes to drugs, and she gets them into treatment. And I know that other communities have that when they're social workers, but she's a social worker who works for police with a police car that shows up. And it's remarkable and it's worked. And so if she watches this, shout out to you, Ariana.
Oh my gosh, I want to meet her. I'm going to have to go find out where she is at the police
You
department.
should.
All right, I'm going to reach out to you and we're going to get together and have coffee or I'll buy you lunch or something. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to meet you and I love your book. You guys go out there and buy this book, okay? The Florida Shuffle.
Fighting the Florida Shuffle.
Fighting the Florida Shuffle, which I, again, had no idea what it was until now. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's frightening. And if you have somebody out there in your family that's battling this horrendous disease, you have to read this book prior to putting your person in treatment because you will learn so much from this book. It is so helpful because people out there, when your kid is a whirling dervish in your house, or your husband, or your cousin, or your uncle, or whatever, whoever it is in your life, you don't know what to do. This book will help you, give you some direction. Go get it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bizzy.
And congratulations again on Megyn Kelly being on True Crime. It's going to be exciting.
I'm excited about it. First episode is recording tomorrow.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bizzy. Take care.
You too.